Welcome to another episode of AutoMundial, the weekly car news and review show where this week we take our first look at the latest Mini, the new Countryman.
We also have a slice of German luxury with the Audi A8, and we look at the latest electric smart cars as well as the all-new Volkswagen Golf GTI.
Taurus, a Slovakian off-road van conversion specialist, has revealed this, the new Terrastorm. Essentially a Volkswagen crafter that's been modified to survive an apocalypse, the Terrastorm is available in 3 versions, either as a regular van, a minibus or an ambulance. 174 brake horsepower comes courtesy of the standard crafter 2-litre diesel engine that's now fitted to a 6-speed gearbox and 4-wheel drive system. The suspension has been beefed up and a series of skid plates have been fitted to avoid any damage off-road. It also gets a locking rear differential, knobbly tyres and some tougher anti-roll bars. With the right options spec'd, the Terrastorm can wade up to an impressive 820mm, making it an interesting alternative to many conventional 4x4s. Ambulance models come equipped with all sorts of medical essentials, while the minibus comes as standard with seating for 20.
Believe it or not, the smart car has been with us now for over 20 years. And in that time, the basic recipe hasn't really changed. The FORTWO is still a tiny 2-seater that's just about small enough to park nose-on to the pavement. And since the original city coupe models hit the road in the late 90s, there have been only 3 more generations since. Now though, it's had a facelift, and what's more, both it and the 5-door FORFOUR are now electric only. But electric power is nothing new for Smart. In fact, every generation has been available with some sort of electrification, but now Smart has ditched internal combustion altogether. And this all comes with the brand's new backers, Geely. The Chinese automotive powerhouse now owns a 50% stake in the brand, with the other half still controlled by Mercedes. As a result, a new factory has been announced in China, ready for some all-new models, including a new Fiesta rival in 2022. For now though, a facelift will suffice. The FORTWO is still a unique car, and the big new face has done little to detract from the Smart's iconic styling. The bonnet no longer features a grille. Instead, the car now has a more aerodynamic design with an eye-catching grille panel in the bumper. At the back, the lights have been updated, while there's also a fresh range of alloy wheel options to choose from. Step inside though, and the changes are even more subtle. The centre console has been reshaped to house a smartphone tray. There's also some new fabric on the dash to make it feel a little more upmarket, as well as some new interior colours. It's still a nice cabin though, as you'd expect with its Mercedes influence. The appeal of smart cars has always been their suitability for urban driving, and as such, it perhaps comes as no surprise that this new electric model lacks the range of its rivals. On a single charge, the plucky FORTWO will barely do more than 80 miles. That's not a lot these days, but it's perfectly suitable for stop-start rush hour commutes through city centres. And it isn't the only new smart car for 2020. This is the new EQ44, a more practical 5-door offering, also now available only as an EV. Like its 2-seater sibling, it's had a minor facelift with some very similar tweaks.
Still based on the rear-engine Renault Twingo, the EQ44 uses the same 80 brake horsepower electric motor as the FORTWO, still driving the rear wheels. However, where the smaller smart car is in a class of its own, the FORFOUR has some serious competition. The Renault Zoe, for example, like the Smart, is a small, nimble electric hatchback, but top-spec models can achieve over 3 times the Smart car's range of just 81 miles. It's much more expensive, but it could quite easily be used as an only car. Then there's the Volkswagen E-Up. At around the same price as the Smart, it can do roughly twice the Smart's range on a single charge, despite being based on a modified combustion engine platform. The FORFOUR then is perhaps a little tricky to recommend, but the FORTWO is still just as cheeky and fun as ever, and still the perfect car for city commuting.
When the Mini Countryman was first launched way back in 2010, we laughed at the idea of a mini SUV. But now, after 10 years on sale, it seems we needn't have. With strong sales across the decade, the Countryman has now been updated. The previous gen of Countryman was well received. It was more spacious, more practical and more grown up to drive than the original. But all the while, you couldn't escape the fact that the car really wasn't that mini at all. But we've got used to that now, and after a decade on the roads, the Countryman is a staple small SUV. Mini sold 250,000 in the first 3 years, and they've not stopped flying out of the showrooms since. Now though, it's been updated. Since the last version was first introduced, the rest of Mini's lineup has had a refresh. To keep it in line with its stablemates, it gets some familiar design cues like the new grille and the patriotic Union Jack taillights. Other exterior tweaks include a fresh selection of alloys, up to 19 inches, and optional piano black styling package. Buyers benefit from adaptive LEDs with auto-dimming as standard, as well as a new choice of paint jobs. On the inside, the Countryman has a new 5-inch instrument panel straight from the Mini Electric, as well as an array of leather upholstery choices. It's all very luxurious, and on the inside, certainly a Mini. Under the bonnet, the range of engines remains unchanged, starting with a turbocharged 1.5-litre petrol all the way up to the Coupe S variant with a turbocharged 2-litre unit. But while it uses the same engines, they have been updated. Petrol engines get a new injection system and cylinder head, while diesel models meet the latest European emission standards thanks to an updated AdBlue system. The most exciting version, though, is the new John Cooper Works model, complete with a 228 brake horsepower 2-litre 4-pot as seen in fast BMWs. Overall, then, it's practical and bang up to date, and it is a good option for those looking for a new SUV. But what else is around?
Well, keeping it in the BMW Group family, the Bmw X2 immediately springs to mind. Like the Mini, it's small and stylish, but with a more premium feel. The X2 uses the same platform as the Countryman, meaning it shares most of its internals. The chassis is tuned differently though, and the cabin is completely different from the much funkier Minis. The whole car just feels a bit more mature, and, if we're honest, a bit more boring. There is a fast one though to rival the John Cooper Works Countryman. The X2 M35i with a 300 horsepower 2-litre engine that's good for 0 to 62 miles per hour in around 5 seconds. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the X2 is more expensive. But despite this, the badge alone will be enough to tempt many buyers away from its British alternative. Its rakish roofline doesn't compromise space too much, and it certainly stands out on street corners. In fact, we'd argue that it's one of the best looking crossovers out there. Another attractive small SUV is the popular Volkswagen T-Roc. Largely based on the Golf hatchback, the T-Roc seamlessly blends VW's signature build quality and practicality with a stylish look and modern interior with lots of body-coloured trim. Entry-level cars get a fizzy little 1-litre turbocharged engine, while the range tops out with the impressive T-Roc R, a 300 horsepower monster with Golf R running gear. There's even a convertible model, although we're not quite sure why. But if the little Volkswagen doesn't have quite enough badge for you, there's always its VW Group stablemate, the Audi Q2. Like the BMW, it offers a compact slice of high-end luxury, with a smart cabin and endless curb appeal. But unlike the BMW Group offerings, the Audi is available with a much more modest range of engine options. Inside and out, the Audi looks the part. It comes in at around the same price as the VW too, so you can't complain too much about the few bits of scratchy plastic.
So what is the pick of the bunch? Well, while the BMW and Audi get more badge, it's the Mini that gets our vote. We like the styling, and the JCW model proves that compact SUVs don't need to be boring.
After the break, the Mark 8 Golf GTI. Coming up, VW's latest hot hatch, but first.
When it comes to luxury limos, the Brits have always been tough to beat. Bentley makes traditional craftsmanship with blistering performance, while Rolls-Royce is, well, it's the Rolls-Royce of cars. They're vast land yachts full of wood and leather and represent timeless elegance and style. But what if you want something a bit more modern, a bit more techy? Well, you get something German, namely the BMW 7 Series, the Mercedes S-Class, or this, the latest Audi A8. The Ingolstadt manufacturer's flagship barge, the new A8 continues the tradition of cutting-edge gadgetry and imposing styling. And let's start with that new technology, as eventually it will start to trickle down into more mundane models in the brand's lineup. Being a luxury car, the gizmos are designed to make travelling as comfortable as possible, whether you're driving up front or being driven in the back. It comes equipped with level 3 autonomous capabilities, allowing it to largely drive itself. There's the usual array of safety equipment like brake assist and adaptive cruise control, but it's in the cabin where you're really spoiled. The dash features an enormous pair of touchscreens which power up as soon as the car is opened. One is used to operate the climate control gubbins, like the system in new Land Rovers, while the main screen features the infotainment. Instead of old-fashioned gauges, you also get Audi's fabulous virtual cockpit, which displays your usual speed and revs as well as your map guidance. It's all super slick with features like Traffic Jam Pilot, which lets you relax in congestion as the car moves itself with the flow. All models come with Audi's 48-volt mild hybrid system, allowing up to 50 miles per gallon with the 50 TDI diesel model. This is lowered with the optional bigger wheels, but we'd still opt for standard small alloys for the best possible ride quality. After all, this is a car primarily designed to be comfortable. In that vein, the A8 needs to be as quiet as possible. It's therefore fitted with Audi's familiar 48-volt mild hybrid system, which enables you to effortlessly glide between traffic lights.
But what about its main rival, the BMW 7 Series? With a recent facelift, the 7 has a somewhat divisive new look. Yes, you can't talk about the new 7 Series without mentioning that grille. Designed to appeal to the Chinese market, the enormous new nostrils certainly take some getting used to, and to be honest, we're still not there yet. But a limo is all about the interior, and the 7 is better appointed than ever. While it can't compete with the Audi's cinema-sized screens, the 7's cabin is still a wondrous environment to travel in. The rear seats can recline like in a first-class airliner, and you can even spec a champagne cooler in between them. The materials are wonderful, with stunning wood trims and the softest leather you could ever wish for. Sadly, it doesn't look particularly special. The dash looks like it came from a 5 Series, and at this price point, we'd hope for something a bit more distinctive.
In conclusion then, we'd go for the Audi. The array of gizmos and gadgets is a true representation of a German limo. It feels bang up to date, and while the grille is massive, it looks a whole lot better than the BMW.
GTI. Few other letters strike such a chord with car enthusiasts, conjuring images of some of the most iconic hot hatchbacks in history. The most famous of which is, of course, the Volkswagen Golf GTI. Since it was introduced in the 1970s, the Golf has been one of the most recognisable and popular performance family cars, with its distinctive tartan seats and red trim. And now, with the recent release of the Mark 8 Golf, Volkswagen has unveiled this, the all-new GTI. At first glance, there are no real surprises. It's got a sportier stance than the regular Golf, some bigger wheels, twin exhaust pipes, and lots of the obligatory red detailing. There are loads of GTI badges too, and some stylish LED daytime running lights in the lower grille, similar to those found in the Renault Megane RS. At the back, there's no Golf badge. With some simple GTI script making do, it also gets a very subtle rear spoiler to complete the hot hatch makeover. The optional 19-inch wheels are perhaps a little garish, but otherwise it's just as inconspicuous as a hot hatch Golf should be. Step inside, and all of the signature GTI flourishes are present. The fabulous tartan sports seats, a flat-bottomed steering wheel, and of course, more red bits. Otherwise, it's all standard Mark 8 Golf, meaning you get a classy, fuss-free dash with VW's impressive new infotainment. There's also some customizable mood lighting that seems to be an essential in all new German cars, and a 10-inch instrument panel behind the wheel with GTI-specific graphics. It all looks as we expected it to then, so what about the oily bits? Well, Volkswagen has been careful not to spoil the recipe. There's no hybridization, and it comes as standard with a 6-speed manual gearbox. There is an optional DSG with paddle shifters though, if you're that way inclined. Under the bonnet, we find an updated version of the 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder TSI engine, producing a healthy 242 bhp, exactly the same as you got on the old GTI Performance Pack model. It isn't quite as quick either, taking 0.2 more of a second to reach 62 mph from rest. However, as with the old car, we can expect lots of tweaked versions in the future, akin to the more focused Mark 7 TCR and Club Sport models. It also gets a raft of safety tech and an updated version of the Travel Assist semi-autonomous driving system, allowing the car to accelerate, steer and brake at speeds of up to 130 mph on motorways and dual carriageways. Although we suspect it'll be best left for use on autobahns.
But if the new Golf wants to continue the legendary GTI lineage, it'll need to beat this, the Ford Focus ST. To ensure the ST's performance credentials, Ford has packed it full of some very high-end tech. It gets a rally car style anti-lag system which keeps the turbo spooled up for an instant throttle response and acceleration. And it's certainly effective, helping the 276 bhp 2.3 litre engine propel the car to 62 mph in 5.7 seconds with help from its launch control system. Then there's the adaptive dampers and electronically controlled limited slip diff, helping to keep the Focus flat and neat through corners, while the rev matching system allows for racing driver downshifts with minimal effort. Elsewhere, the steering response has been sharpened and the dampers have been firmed up, Although the ride remains almost as supple as in the standard car, a great achievement considering how firm its rivals are. And then there's the Renault Megane RS, the perennial thorn in the Golf GTI's side. In standard trim, it puts out 276 brake horsepower from a 1.8-litre turbocharged motor that it shares with the Alpine A110. This means 0 to 62 in 5.8 seconds, while the more expensive trophy model shaves off another tenth.
However, as impressive as the Ford and Renault are, neither quite manages to capture the quality and sophisticated image of the VW. The Golf GTI has always seemed like the obvious choice for those lacking imagination, but we can't fault a true all-rounder.
Join us again next week on AutoMundial as we check out the all-new Mercedes-AMG GLA.